So, Meghan Markle wanted a private life. No cameras, no palace drama, no intrusive tabloids, no being chased down the street like a royal Diana reboot. That's what we were told. That's what she and Harry swore they were after when they packed their bags.
If you want more unfiltered royal truth, not the palace-approved version, hit like, subscribe and tell us in the comments, are Beatrice and Eugenie breaking the cycle or repeating history? Stay tuned. The tea only gets hotter.
Turn to the silver screen. What kind of private citizen keeps an entire Netflix crew on speed dial? Let's not kid ourselves. Meghan didn't run away from the spotlight. She ran toward a different one. One that she could control. One that came with studio lights, strategic leaks, and camera angles she liked. This isn't a story of royal rejection. It's a tale of Hollywood audition. And now, she's not just repeating history, she's borrowing it wholesale from the Duchess, who stumbled down this same road before her. Sarah Ferguson. Fergie, the original red-haired rebel of the royal family. The woman who went from palace tiaras to tabloid train wreck in record time. And Meghan, whether she realizes it or not, is walking straight into the same trap. Let's rewind. Fergie married into royalty with spark and defiance. She wanted to do things her own way. Modernize, be fun, be relatable. But the institution didn't budge, and neither did public expectation. The scandal started early. The press turned savage. The marriage collapsed. And then came the real show. Reality TV appearances, brand endorsements, toe-sucking photos, and a desperate bid to stay relevant in a world that had moved on. She sold her privacy for a paycheck, and then spent the next 2 decades trying to buy it back. Sound familiar? Now look at Meghan. She too entered the royal family with all the sparkle of a new era. Biracial, American, independent. A modern woman ready to shake up centuries of tradition. But instead of reforming the institution from within, she blew it up from the outside and then tried to build her brand from the ashes. The Oprah interview, the Spotify contract, the Netflix docuseries, the staged public appearances, the paparazzi-tipped hikes, the celebrity friendships, the sudden flood of insider stories conveniently timed around press launches, and now, possibly, a Hollywood acting comeback. How do you square that with a desire for privacy? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't. What Meghan wants isn't privacy, it's control. Control over the narrative. Control over the camera. Control over how she's seen, heard, perceived. She doesn't want to be out of the spotlight. She wants to be the one turning it on and off. That's why the Fergie comparison isn't just convenient, it's inevitable. Because this is the same playbook, updated for the streaming era. A former duchess, shunned or disillusioned by the crown, now desperately trying to remain relevant in the only way she knows how, by commodifying her identity. It's the same cycle. Marry royalty, clash with the firm, leave under a storm of scandal, then try to build a new empire on the ruins of the old one. And somewhere along the way, lose credibility with the public who once rooted for you. Fergie went from national sweetheart to national joke in a matter of years. And Meghan, if she keeps walking this path, might just follow. Because the cracks are showing. Every time she claims to hate the spotlight, she's seen posing in one. Every time she says she wants a quiet life for her children, her image is splashed across magazines, events, podcasts, and red carpets. Every time she criticizes the royal institution, she leans on it ever so subtly to remind the world who she used to be. You don't get invited to the A-list table in Hollywood because of your acting chops from 2011. You get there because you were a duchess. And Meghan knows it. She's not being punished for chasing relevance, she's being questioned for how she's doing it. You can't build a brand on victimhood while sipping champagne at private Beverly Hills parties. You can't cry foul about media intrusion while inviting camera crews into your home. You can't say you're breaking free from the monarchy while still marketing yourself with royal residue. People notice. They notice with Fergie too. And it didn't end well for her. After the toe scandal, the debt scandals, the cash for access disaster, she became a walking cautionary tale. Her name became shorthand for what happens when you try to turn royal disgrace into celebrity capital. And now Meghan risks becoming the 2.0 version. Glossier, curated, strategic, but just as vulnerable to collapse when the contradictions become too loud to ignore. Even her rumored return to acting reeks of desperation wrapped in empowerment. Because let's be honest, is this about art? Or about optics? Is this about reclaiming passion or staying visible? Fergie made the same moves. Guest spots, books, TV interviews, everything carefully framed as comeback while being fueled by notoriety. And like Meghan, she often leaned into narratives that blurred the line between genuine transformation and glossy reinvention. But here's where it gets dangerous. Fame built on contradiction is fame with an expiration date. The public might enjoy the spectacle, but they don't trust it. And once trust is gone, you can't win it back with another podcast or Netflix special. People start to roll their eyes. The applause gets quieter. The invitations dwindle. The same media that once championed you turns on you. Ask Fergie. She knows. The warning signs are flashing for Meghan. She was once the breath of fresh air in a centuries-old institution. Now she risks becoming another celebrity punching bag, overexposed, overanalyzed, and increasingly unbelievable. Because the longer she walks this contradictory path, claiming peace while courting chaos, the more people question what's real. And once that question takes hold, every headline becomes suspect. Every appearance feels staged. Every authentic moment feels rehearsed. That's how it begins. The very fame you chase turns into a mirror you can't escape. It reflects not just your curated image but your inconsistencies, your contradictions, your cracks. And suddenly, you're not in control anymore. The narrative runs without you. That's what happened to Fergie. And unless Meghan course corrects, she's headed down the same slippery slope. Because fame is not a refuge. It's a furnace. It consumes. It tests. And if your foundation isn't authentic, it melts you from the inside out. It's not too late, of course. Meghan could stop playing the game. She could pull back from the performative appearances, focus on substance over style, build something real without leaning on the royal brand she once rejected. But that takes humility. It takes patience. And most of all, it takes consistency. Something she's sorely lacked since stepping off the royal stage. Because if you say you want privacy, live it. Don't just whisper it behind designer sunglasses while walking into your next Hollywood meeting. Fergie didn't learn that lesson until it was too late. Her reinventions became punchlines. Her scandals became permanent scars. Her relevance faded into infamy. The question now is, will Meghan learn before history repeats itself again? Or will we be watching, 5 years from now, as another duchess turned celebrity clings to a platform she can no longer control, wondering where it all went wrong? The choice is hers. The spotlight is still on. But the audience, they're starting to turn. And oh, how quickly that audience can turn. Once, Meghan was the Cinderella who shook up the palace. A breath of modern air breezing through centuries of stiff royal tradition. A symbol of progress, of diversity, of change. Crowds cheered. Op-eds praised. Celebrities circled. People wanted her to win. Really win. Not because she was married to a prince but because she seemed to represent something bigger than fairy tale romance. She represented possibility. And yet, that storybook moment was brief. Because somewhere along the way, the fairytale cracked and outspilled the script, the branding, the contradiction, the repetition. And now, more and more, the public isn't clapping, they're squinting. Wait, wasn't she the one who said she didn't want to be famous? Didn't she leave the royal family because she craved a normal life? So why is she front row at fashion shows and being photographed laughing next to A-listers on yachts? The Meghan Markle of 2018 and the Meghan of 2025 are not the same character. One played the victim of palace coldness. The other is now willingly rubbing shoulders with the same Hollywood crowd she claimed to loathe for its lack of authenticity. And herein lies the Fergie parallel, not just in career strategy but in public fatigue. Fergie was once loved too. People adored her spunk, her sense of humor, her outsider charm. But when the scandals kept coming one after another, the public didn't just get bored. They got tired. Tired of excuses. Tired of reinventions. Tired of the spectacle. Because at some point, charm turns into shtick, and sympathy curdles into suspicion. That's what happens when someone who claims to be escaping the spotlight spends more time in front of it than they ever did before. It's not just about Meghan's right to live a public life, of course she has it. But if you're going to dine with the elite, star in Netflix deals, and strike million-dollar brand partnerships, you don't get to play the "I just want privacy" card every time things get uncomfortable. It's not just hypocrisy, it's strategy. And increasingly, people are seeing through it. Let's talk substance. Fergie had a royal name and no role. Meghan has a royal title and a fading relevance. Both tried to monetize their personas in a culture addicted to fame and storytelling. But here's the rub: if your story keeps changing, people stop believing any of it. 1 minute, it's about healing. The next, it's about production deals. Then it's a podcast about mental health. Then it's a red carpet with billionaires. One day, it's about escaping toxic media. The next, it's about working with Netflix, Spotify, and a potential return to Hollywood. It's dizzying, it's calculated, and it's exhausting. Because in the end, what Meghan's team sells as empowerment increasingly feels like branding disguised as activism. Good causes wrapped in glossy PR campaigns. Humanitarian buzzwords attached to ventures that often feel more performative than purposeful. Sound familiar? Fergie, too, once pitched herself as misunderstood. She spoke about women's rights, wrote children's books, teared up in interviews. And yet, it never quite stuck. Not because people didn't want her to succeed, but because she made it too easy to doubt her. The pattern repeated until the pattern became the story. And that's what Meghan is risking now. Because the media, love it or loathe it, thrives on consistency. And when the narrative is inconsistent, they'll pick apart the gaps until the contradictions are all that's left. When Meghan launched her podcast, it was sold as deep, intimate, a space for women's stories. But behind the curtain, it was slick, controlled, and riddled with guest appearances from other celebrities as famous as she is. It felt curated, commercial, like every episode was built not to reveal, but to protect. That's the difference between substance and spin. Fergie spun, and spun, and spun until there was nothing left but dizzying spectacle. And the fear, for Meghan, is that her carefully orchestrated life is spinning too fast, loud, hollow. People want authenticity. That doesn't mean perfection, it means vulnerability that isn't rehearsed. Openness that isn't leveraged. Meghan's current path doesn't read as vulnerable, it reads as calculated. And if there's one thing Hollywood and the public can sniff out from a mile away, it's someone who says one thing and does another. And yes, it's harder for women. Much harder. The media scrutinizes every outfit, every facial expression, every word. But that doesn't give Meghan a pass for weaponizing the system she claims to despise. If you're going to critique the press, don't feed it. If you're going to reject the palace, don't wear the crown when it suits you. What Meghan needs is not another rebrand. Not another show. Not another Oprah sit-down. What she needs is to stop. Stop the PR cycle. Stop the contradictions. Stop the obsession with controlling every frame. And maybe, just maybe, start building something real. Because the one thing she could offer, the one thing no one else in the royal orbit could, is truth. Unvarnished, painful, personal truth. Not in a media package. Not with a camera crew. But in action. In choices. In consistency. Fergie never found that balance. She swung from scandal to gig to desperate reinvention, always just shy of gaining real respect. Meghan, right now, is teetering on the same precipice. And here's the thing, this isn't about hating Meghan. It's about watching a potentially powerful story unravel because the protagonist can't pick a lane. Be the royal rebel. Be the Hollywood power player. Be the activist. But be one. Be consistent. Because if you try to be all three, the audience stops caring. The contradictions pile up. The narrative shatters. And that's when the fall begins. Not because people hate you, but because they stop believing you. Right now, Meghan Markle is on the edge of that moment. She has a choice. Continue chasing the same spotlight Fergie once drowned in, or step back, reset, and choose substance over spin. Authenticity over optics. Legacy over likes. Because the game she's playing, it's brutal and unforgiving. And it eats its own. Fergie couldn't escape it. And unless Meghan wakes up, neither will she. The stage lights may be bright, but they don't forgive. They don't forget. And when the show's over, and the crowd has left, all you're left with is your reflection, unfiltered, unedited, and undeniable. Let's see which one Meghan wants to live with. Because the more Meghan clings to the glitz, the harder it becomes to tell where the woman ends and the brand begins. Is she the humanitarian fighting for women's voices, or the Hollywood insider chasing a movie deal? Is she the Duchess silenced by the crown, or the media powerhouse who can summon Oprah, Netflix, and Vogue with a snap of her fingers? The contradictions aren't just confusing. They're corrosive. Every time Meghan walks into another star-studded gala after decrying the toxicity of fame, the audience's eyebrows arch just a little higher. Every time she drops another carefully curated interview about her pain while wearing couture and being filmed from her best angle, the skepticism sharpens. Let's be blunt, the sympathy is drying up. It's not because people don't understand the pressures she faced inside the royal family. Many do. It's not because people begrudge her a successful post-royal life. They don't. But what people do resent deeply is being sold one version of a story while being shown something entirely different. You can't plead for privacy in a $14 million mansion and then release an intimate docuseries filmed inside that mansion. You can't frame yourself as a victim of the spotlight when you're voluntarily jumping back into it, heel first, in front of a row of paparazzi. You can't bash the media, then invite it in through the front door because the lighting suits your new podcast aesthetic. And here's where we circle back to Fergie, because she did it too. She begged for dignity, then sold exclusives. She said she hated the press, then pitched reality shows. She lamented being mocked while cashing checks from tabloids for fueling that mockery. It became a feedback loop of scandal and spectacle, of denial and desperate reinvention. And eventually, the public just tuned out. Meghan is dangerously close to hitting that same wall. The thing is, Fergie didn't have a second act. Not really. She tried everything: product lines, endorsements, documentaries, children's books, self-help ventures. But none of it stuck, because every new chapter came with baggage from the last one. There was never time for a clean slate, only a chaotic scrapbook of borrowed opportunities and badly timed choices. Meghan still has time, but not much. If she wants that second act to be taken seriously, she needs to earn it. Not with another personal interview arranged by publicists. Not with another soft-focus, Oprah-endorsed, Terzonki special. But with something real. Something grounded. Something that doesn't scream, "I'm trying to stay famous," but rather, "I've found something worth doing, with or without the cameras." Because let's be honest, the world isn't craving another Duchess turned celebrity brand. We've seen it. We've had it. We're over it. What we want now, what's missing in Meghan's narrative, is follow-through. Where's the substance? What happened to the Archewell Foundation? Where's the deep, community-based change she promised? Where are the grassroots initiatives that don't need a red carpet or a press release? What we've gotten so far are headlines, guest lists, and strategically timed appearances. That's not impact, that's PR. And here's what Meghan seems to misunderstand. Real reinvention requires retreat. It demands space, silence, time away from the spectacle to rebuild something genuine. But she won't stop. She won't pause. She won't vanish long enough for her next move to feel meaningful. Because that next move is always already being filmed. Fergie fell into that trap too. The comeback was always more important than the cause. The branding was always louder than the belief. And in the end, she became a kind of tragic punchline, a woman who once had the world's attention, but wasted it on flashy distractions and shallow ventures. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.